Welcome to Trust Your Innersense with Joanne Starkman podcast. I'm Joanne Starkman, and I look forward to going on this collaborative journey with you to ignite inspiration, inspire self-discovery, and instill new meaning in life. I'm excited to host a wonderful array of guests, including innovators, creatives, expert coaches, teachers, and much, much more who come together to share their stories. Each episode reveals how they've embraced their inner sense to pursue their passions and shine their unique lights in the world. We'll have thought-provoking discussions and chat about tools that will provide fresh perspectives to help you create a joyful and meaningful life. As founder and chief visionary officer of award-winning hair care brand Innersense Organic Beauty, I am also an avid meditator, platform artist, author, and mother of a special needs young adult. Over 20 years ago, I intentionally brought mindfulness to morning routines by authoring each affirmation on Innersense Organic Beauty's products, which we call Innerflections. You can check them out on the back of the bottle. It's my goal to have this podcast to be your warm and compassionate companion, whether you're on a journey for deeper meaning, seeking greater joy, or in need of love and healing. Let's continue our journey of self-discovery, self-care, and self-love. I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive into this week's Trust Your Innersense episode now. Welcome to Trust Your Innersense podcast, where we explore the sacred connection between beauty, wellness, and conscious living. Today, I'm joined by the incredible Breanna Bell, educator, entrepreneur, and newly appointed executive director of the Kansas City Board of Cosmetology. Breanna, as the founder of Curlology, Brianna has transformed the way textured hair has taught and honored in our industry. You've really changed that so much, from developing nationally recognized curriculum to pioneering access-based systems. Her work blends innovation, inclusion, and intentional artistry. I'm so excited to have you here today, Brianna. Thank you. This was kind of impromptu.
Yes,
You're just in the area
yes.
visiting. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
You're such an inspiration to me.
Thank you.
And I should even remember how long have we known each other? Like, and how did we even meet? Like, how did you even come to
the world of
Innersense? I can't
Yeah.
remember.
I feel like we're going on maybe 6 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah. We've obviously known of each other prior
Yeah.
to 6 years just because of like ordering product and
Mhm.
calling and talking to you all like to put in product orders. And I think there was a couple of times where I don't know if I talked specifically to Greg, but it was just so long ago.
Yeah.
But I was interested in just seeing what the education department looked like. And I remember just calling up one day and it was like, we're hosting an event. Do you want to come? And next thing I know, it was like,
We were
here's
attached
Greg.
at the
Yeah,
hip.
it was like, here's Greg and Joanne. Yeah, the rest. Yeah, it's like, and I just
Now
feel
we're
like,
your surrogate parents.
I know, yes.
And oh my God. Well, you've done so much for our brand. I mean, so much. You've
Thank you.
created curriculum for us, educated on some of our biggest stages, and really are kind of like the top of the top as far as
Oh,
our
thank you. I
educator,
appreciate that.
whole, I don't know, what am I trying to say? The whole community is concerned. So you're
honored. I'm honored.
you're
Yeah.
really leading the way and have really forged something very impactful and very important,
Thank you.
that's very near and
Yeah.
dear to Greg and myself. So really the gratitude is huge. But I really want to congratulate you on your new
Thank
found
you. Yeah.
role as executive director of the Kansas Board of Cosmetology.
Yes.
Like, wow, mind blowing.
It is. It's a little
okay.
surreal,
Hello,
but yeah.
young woman. How did that? I mean, yeah. So what does this mean for you? Just tell me.
Right now the thoughts that are going through my head is this is a full circle moment.
Uh-huh.
I born and raised in Lawrence, Kansas. I have had a passion for being in the hair industry, and I was talking, briefly with some friends earlier today, just reminiscing on where this all started. And I was this girl that was super interested at 12 years old in being a YouTuber. And I was like, oh, it's easy. I see other people styling their hair at home, and I just want to do the same thing and get on the camera. And I think it was more of an empowerment thing for me as a young teenager, because I've always been kind of like to myself, a little bit quiet. I would consider my younger self as shy, and styling my hair was just kind of like that. I walk into the room and everybody's like, "Hey, what is that?" So it was just kind of an element of, I don't know, a talking piece for me. So
Mhm.
yeah, being in Kansas, that's something that has always been a challenge, is of finding a professional who knows how to do my hair, and then also standing out, amongst my peers and even my older family members and friends and family that were just kind of like, "Where did you who how, where do you get your hair done?" And it's always just been like, "Oh, there's not a place. There's not a place." So very quickly I got passionate. I've just entering the industry, and I think that's what sparked just the interest of it all. Is, okay, why is this not a thing? There's so many people looking for it, and I'm passionate about it, but when is it going to happen? And so,
Right.
yeah. Um
You're so
yeah,
talented. I mean, you're
it's
so, so
it's
talented.
a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
You're such a strong
Thank
voice
you.
for the
Thank
industry, just in
you.
the whole beauty space. How do you feel like you're bringing that commitment to the board? Like, what
Yeah,
does that look like for you?
I feel like what I've seen with a lot of cosmetology boards is, yes, the board is an agency there for regulation and licensing and kind of like putting the hammer down on how things should operate, but it's not great when there's people in place who are not considering the practitioner.
Mhm.
And so for me, one thing I just strongly am reminded as I walk into this new position is that I am the practitioner. I experience that. And I also am heavily, involved with other practitioners. And so just bringing that insight into this new role of kind of regulation and licensing is that there's people behind this. And it's not just, oh, sign this, implement that. It's like this is affecting everyone's, lives
Mhm.
and their economic way of how they run their business, of how they, just have work-life balances, and even to go even further, the public safety. And so I feel like that's just something that I'm really passionate about walking into this role, is just bringing the people, the humanization, back into that portion of the industry and not
Mhm.
making it seem like, oh, we're just here to put the hammer down, punish you, or just implement something that may not seem impossible for people to operate their businesses. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
I'm encouraged. I know it's going to take work. As many
Yeah.
people say, the wheels of justice move very slowly. And
Oh,
so it's
yeah,
like you
good
got to have
point.
somebody who has, I guess, stamina or is there for the
Mhm.
journey. And
Yeah.
that's just how I'm feeling right now. And
No, yeah, that's I know
yeah.
you're a strong woman. You're up
Uh
I'm sure you're up for it. So, let's talk a little bit about inclusion. What does that look like in cosmetology, in education and licensing? Like I'd love to hear your
yeah.
yeah.
Well, when we talk about education, my first kind of thoughts is, our schools. That's the first kind of entry, and I guess America is where people come in, whether you're in a stylist, whether you're an esthetician, tattooing, any of those industries, that service industry, you're coming in and getting your license. And so education, in order to be inclusive, you have to have access to
Yes.
diverse education. Yes, we learn about the science, but you also want to be able to implement it and see how these practices and this theory then applies to anybody of any race, of any, hair type, skin type, whatever you want to look at it. So that's the first and foremost, is just being able to acknowledge and bring awareness to that and not look at it as one just hyper focused, pipeline of, oh, it only applies to this person.
Mhm.
And then from there, you just really make sure that the knowledge that's being brought to the table is also being implemented correctly. And
Mhm.
so it seems like, people talk about inclusion and diversity as such a broad subject, but the reality is just being consistent with it. And once we're
Mhm.
aware, making sure that it shows up in every aspect of whatever we're implementing and whatever we're building.
Have you personally faced any challenges in it? And if you have or haven't, like, do you have any advice for anybody
Yeah.
that might be navigating those or
Yeah. So I definitely have faced a lot of challenges around feeling included in spaces. Not just dealing, with my hair, but just in the education system. I love my home state, Kansas, but there's not a whole lot of people growing up that look like me, and also older people or inspirations that I had to look up to, that I could say, oh wow, like I see myself in you. And so one of the biggest challenges I remember at a young age is just learning, being in the learning space, elementary, middle school, high school, and being able to advocate for myself and
Mm,
say, this is what I need in order to learn the best. This is maybe the timing. I learn in a different format. And so I remember being in those spaces and oftentimes just being like, well, you're an oddball, and that's
mm,
not a good feeling, from a child. And it
never.
definitely, I feel like in my older years, it brings up, why do I feel this way when I walk into something? Why am I reserved? Like I'm
Mm,
incapable, and I have to remind myself, like release, let go of that, that childhood trauma, and it's something that you have to internally continue to encourage yourself to let go. But as I transitioned and got older, there definitely was once again, going to university, entering those challenges where you're the only minority in a business class. And it's like, okay, I'm here and I want to be productive,
of
but
course.
I'm looking around and none of my peers look like me. And some
Mhm.
of the commentary around how a business, even I'll use this example, selects their demographics for a product and being immediately excluded from how other people may select. And it's like, well, are we being considerate of how we're describing how we select the demographics for selling a product? And that was something I oftentimes brought up just from my lived in experience, and it was like, well, we don't need to talk about that. So once again, it was like, how do I
Mm,
remain internally encouraged to keep showing up in those spaces and keep advocating for myself and advocating for others and not just suppressing it and saying, oh, well, they're right, and,
mhm.
it's hard because, when you have a professor in those spaces, you wanna say like, "Oh, they're knowledgeable, they're all-knowing,"
Right.
but being able to filter through that and just say, "Oh, maybe they just don't have expertise in this area, so I want to take the facts, and the criticism, the helpful criticism, and adapt it to how I'm gonna impact other people's lives and how this is gonna impact me." So,
Wow, Brianna, that's pretty amazing.
yeah,
Thank you so much for sharing
thank
that.
you,
That's
thank
really
you.
I just continue to love you even more. Just
Oh,
that it's really inspiring to hear kind of the inner workings and how
mhm,
you navigate. So
mhm.
thank you for sharing that. I really
Oh,
appreciate it.
thank you, thank
Yeah.
you.
As someone so passionate about education, what changes would you like to see in, future cosmetologists training and how they're supported and like what would you see as like positive
Yeah.
changes?
One of the, I guess, biggest positive changes that I would like to see in the hair industry is access to education.
Mhm.
That's something I'm very much passionate about, because I know entering the industry at a young age, I was told oftentimes, oh, maybe 10 years into the industry, you'll learn it later, or you'll get that
Mm.
opportunity 15 years later. And I remember having a mentor and I adored, everything. He was a platform artist, was very knowledgeable, but I remember sitting down with him and asking him, like, how did you get to where you got? And he's like, it took me 45 years. And I remember
Uh,
sitting there, I'm like 19 years old, and I'm like, 45
uh,
years, like I'm eager and I'm wanting to learn now. And so I see that in a lot of the young future professionals that I get to interact with. And I just want to empower that because I think that having access to education in that mindset when you're willing, when you're eager, is the best time to, you're still going to develop, you're still going to grow. But if we can stop withholding information and just saying, "Oh, you'll get it later." Then by the time they get later on, they're tired, they're exhausted, or
mhm,
maybe they have, a family and other things in life, and so that access to education, it may be available to them, but other components of their life now are no longer available for them to get it. And so I just would like to see opportunities for younger professionals to get quality education, quality resources, quality access to products. I know that, that's one thing I absolutely love about Innersense is just how me being a young entrepreneur, young stylist, coming across Innersense and being able to connect with the company so quickly.
yeah,
It was definitely an honor, definitely a blessing, but it was something I didn't want to take for granted in those moments because I was like, "Oh, I think when I came in, I was maybe 3 years
right,
having my
right.
license."
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's right.
And I mean,
Yeah, you're a fast track
yeah.
kinda gal,
And I
and
know
yeah.
I know everyone is not, I'm not saying everyone is gonna, just have that same pathway and that same learning mindset, but there are a lot of people who are just not they just don't wanna wait anymore. It's like, I want to
Right.
start off day 1 servicing all hair types,
Mhm.
having clean beauty in my mind and within my heart and my intentions, and that is something that instead of having them go down an avenue and then trying to unlearn, why
Right.
not have it from the
From the
foundation?
beginning.
Yes.
We've talked about that a
So,
lot. I know.
yeah,
Let's continue. I
yes,
know you've sown that seed, and I definitely want to
yeah.
support that vision, and I'm sure there's no doubt in my mind that we're gonna
It's
do
gonna happen, it's
some
gonna
things
happen,
together, yeah.
and I know that, even the school and education, and it kind of connects back to, the regulation aspect of it. I know that that can be challenging to navigate because it's different state to state,
Mhm.
country to country, and now that I am in this position, it's one thing that kind of, like, helps me understand, okay, what is actually the barrier?
Mhm.
And is this a barrier that is actually movable?
Right.
And I think it will bring up some really amazing opportunities to say, hey, we can give them quality education. Why are we holding up amazing companies from getting this insight to our young professionals? And so I know it'll
Yes.
happen, but it will
Yes.
take
It
time
takes
and it will
time.
happen.
I
Yes.
know.
Yes.
I know, and you're so cute. Like, you do everything yesterday, which
I
is
know.
just perfectly our style. I love it. But I mean, but you do have to be patient,
Yes, it
probably.
is.
We've
Yes,
got
yes.
a lot of things
It's like
going on,
mention it,
right?
set it on the table, and just bring it back up,
Yeah,
every
just
once in a yes,
keep
it's like,
talking
it will
about it,
happen.
right? Keep
Yes,
manifesting
yes,
it. I love
yes.
that. Yeah. I love how you've talked a lot about mindset.
Mhm.
I mean, I just really kind of really
Yeah.
appreciate that. So then kind of pivoting just a little bit to the idea of wellness and
Mhm.
mindfulness in the beauty education realm. Like,
Mhm.
what role do you think that plays in it? Like, how do you, and you mentioned clean beauty. So
Yes.
I think that's kind of all wrapped into one, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah. I feel like we've had this conversation before, and I think I really take it even more personal, just being an African American woman in the beauty industry. The challenges that we have faced in navigating product selection,
Right.
and also our mindset around self care and our hair.
Mm-hmm.
And we oftentimes look at our beauty and our self care as a stressor. And that is something
Right.
that, you know, me personally growing up, I've always, wanted to embrace my God-given gift. It's the one thing that I said, I enter a room and I'm like, "Oh, everybody wants to know about my hair." What, like I'm like quiet, so at least that will get me talking, and it definitely shows up a little bit in my adult life too, but
Right.
it is one of those things that I'm like, if we could, going back to access, allow a lot of our minority, communities to have this knowledge and not be so ingrained in some of our, traditions that maybe we grew up and did. And it's not that those traditions, it's one thing to embrace, cultural awareness and have pride for that. But some of these things that we have just masked and just said, oh, my scalp feels uncomfortable. That's just normal. That's just a part of having tight curly hair. And it's like, no, those products were not formulated for your skin. And therefore, you putting on your hair is making you uncomfortable. And you continue to do that. And now you internally feel unwell. And
Oh,
so coming
yes.
into, I've known about that. I've known about, different things that I've used growing up that I'm like, oh, it looks cute, but oh man, I don't like this. And coming into
Mm.
the Innersense community, it was just like, okay, I knew that was true, but I didn't know how to explain it. And if I asked, someone older than me, they didn't know how to explain it. So
Mhm.
it was just this perpetuated, like, well, we just deal with it. And so when we talk about clean beauty, when we talk about mindset, I think for me, that's something that I would love to see shift in our industry. And it very much is shifting because more people are just having access to quality products.
Absolutely.
And that's where it starts is access. As long as you can bring awareness, and we talked about a lot about that, the other day about it starts with awareness and then implementing, once we become aware of what
Mhm.
we need to shift. So,
Mhm. Oh, I love
yeah.
that. And maybe we've already kind of answered this, but I'm just wondering, like, what are some things that we can do to better prepare beauty professionals to lead with both skill, but then also heart in
Mhm.
such a fast evolving industry?
Um, with both skill and heart, I I feel like it's definitely a challenge because we're in a period in the industry where a lot of stuff is shifting. And when I say, a lot of stuff, I mean the process of how you enter the industry. Social media is a huge thing. Social
Right.
media is encouraging in many ways because it's got young professionals seeing the beauty of the industry, but then also it's taking away from a little bit of the skill, because
Mhm.
doing it in front of the mirror, or doing it to your friend and then shifting and doing it in a professional setting, there's these elements of like, okay, how do you shift that so it's best practices? And so when you talk about, bringing that skill aspect into it, it is one of those things where we have to, I mean, I know I keep saying access, but we really have to embrace getting that information and getting those resources in the hands of those who are passionate about it,
Mhm.
who are aware, and
Mhm.
those who are seeking out the industry and may not have maybe the clean beauty background, being able to still I'm kind of my thoughts are a little all over the place, but I guess what I'm getting at is, there's some people who come into the industry and they are those people who are looking for products that perform,
Yes.
and they're just seeking for the finished look.
Mhm.
But once they receive and see that this is amazing, they also have to step back and say, okay, how is this affecting the other aspects and areas of our lives?
Mhm.
And so bringing clean beauty and mindset back into it, it's like, okay, skill is there, but then also we need this to sustain us.
Mhm.
We don't want to be 5, 10 years from now and being like,
Having
okay,
health issues or
exactly.
yes.
And so I mean, I literally can talk about this all day. I'm like slightly losing my train of thought, but the best way that I could describe, I guess one of the thoughts that is going through my head is that we are kind of going through a period of reshaping the industry, and we need
Mhm.
to reshape it from all the different avenues
Mhm.
of the industry, whether that is having brands push, the skills, having the government push the encouragement of how do you get an understanding of the correct skills and get an understanding of how to build the business with the correct skills, and how do you also have the client, have awareness.
Yes.
We just need to be transparent. I mean, when it
Mhm.
comes to the client, stop hiding from them because they're the ones coming in expressing, what they need,
Absolutely.
what their needs are. So I don't
Mhm.
know if I
Yeah.
even answered your
No, no,
question, but I
no.
just,
No, that
yeah,
was
this
great.
is,
No, I
yeah.
appreciate that. I wanna circle back to
Okay.
entrepreneurship
Yeah.
because you're a young entrepreneur, a very young entrepreneur. What inspires you most about like the next generation of
Mhm.
beauty leaders? I mean, like you kind of are the next generation of
Yeah.
beauty leaders. So maybe you're talking about yourself,
Uh,
but the idea of like what inspires you most thinking about all those people that are going to be building businesses
yeah.
or like the people that you're going to be interacting through the cosmetology board and
Yeah.
that, the people that are up and coming that are going to what inspires you most about thinking
Um,
about that?
I what inspires me most is just envisioning the impact that all of us young entrepreneurs are going to make. A lot of practices that we see in our system are very, I don't want to say dated, but because we also needed certain things to happen to create a foundation so that we can shift and evolve. But the problem became that we didn't evolve.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of, young individuals that I meet and they want to be entrepreneurs and they're like, well, that's already done. That's already, I don't know if I could do that. I don't, but it's like, think, step back and think about how we can innovate.
Mhm.
There's space for everyone. And I think that's what inspires me is that there is opportunity to make an impact. We taught an entrepreneurship class, me and my family, which I've
Oh,
shared
that's
with you.
right.
Yes.
I
Yes.
know we do probably need to do a little
Yeah.
highlight on
Yeah.
her
No,
epic
yes,
Kansas City
yeah.
family that
So, I
talk a
guess
little bit about
I'll
that. Yeah.
insert that real quick.
Yeah.
So, as you know, I'm one of 11 children, and both of my parents are entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
My mother is a seamstress, and my father has worked in had his own construction companies and home renovation foundation companies for a long time. Um, and my grandfather and my great grandfather, they were all entrepreneurs. So to me, when people ask me questions about entrepreneurship, it's kind of like, oh, well, I don't know. I didn't really start acknowledging myself as an entrepreneur until I guess more recently got older. And I'm like, oh, I guess I am the business owner.
It
Really?
is in your
It's
blood.
weird.
It's
Yeah.
so
I'm
close
like,
to you. You don't even
yeah. So
see
I'm like,
it.
this is
Yeah.
just what we do.
Yeah.
But that is one thing that inspires me is having a support system. And I know once again, going back to the different individuals that I meet, who may not have that immediate support system like me, knowing that it's out there and
Mm-hmm.
being able to share your vision and your needs and your wants and your interests, because it can all remain in your head. And I know that I've been blessed with slightly that advantage of being surrounded by other people to talk things through and
Right.
express my passion. I know that when I was younger, I even referencing back to when I started my YouTube channel, I was what, 11, 12, and my parents, I'm like, what did you all think of me standing in the bathroom just talking to myself, you
I
know?
don't think I knew
And
about your
yeah,
YouTube channel. Now
yeah,
I gotta go
I know.
look
Oh my
for it.
goodness.
I cannot wait.
I
I bet
laugh
it's
sometimes.
precious.
Oh my goodness. It's the past, but I'm glad I started somewhere. I'll say that. Humble beginnings. But that is one thing that I just, I asked them, like, what were you thinking, like, when I was, because I never thought that I'd be standing in this place right now. And one, my mom's like, I'm just glad that you weren't getting in trouble.
Right.
And we've never been people to, having both parents as entrepreneurs, they've never been people to be like, you need to build a business. You need to. It's just more so find something that you love that's gonna just keep you, sustain you, make you happy. And as we got older, it was just kind of this inevitable thing of just like, well, if you really enjoy doing that, have you thought about, and that's
Making it a
just kind of, yeah,
business kind of
making
thing.
it a
Yeah.
business or seeing where you end up if you want to
Mm-hmm.
work for somebody, but also once you work for somebody, how do you see yourself growing?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that growing means, it has to be go out and make your own business, but I want you to envision wherever you are, you're going to grow
Mm-hmm.
in that lane. And so having that encouragement, I know was right there in my own home and in my backyard and anywhere I went. But when I meet young entrepreneurs, I'm like, find, seek that out and share your passion, because you never know who's going to hear you. I know
Mm-hmm.
everyone doesn't have it right there in their home. But don't feel like you just have to keep it to yourself. And the more you begin to share that, then it's like how one day you wake up and you're like, I've just been sharing so much that God just placed me in the right places at the right
I'm connecting
time.
with
And
the right
yes,
people,
exactly,
and yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I never knew that I mean, I don't know what I envisioned when I was standing in that mirror, but I do watch those videos sometimes and I'm like, what was I talking about? Like, I will say I've taken quite a few of them down because my advice I tell you I was giving, I was like, peanut
Not
butter will help your hair grow. Oh my
Oh my
goodness.
goodness, that's
Yeah,
precious.
it's precious,
Oh.
but when you have clients, well, I like the first couple of years of me being behind the chair, I had clients that were like, "Oh, I searched you up. Does that really work?" And I was like, "Oh, you're really listening to me. Like, don't do that.
Right.
Please don't do that." Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, you've
So,
kind of already answered this question, but this is on my mind. Are there any specific like resources
yeah.
or tools or mindset or anything that any sort of in those veins that I mean, you already gave just a bunch of great
Oh,
information, but anything else that you can think of, like if you were talking to a young entrepreneur or young
mhm.
stylist or either or both kind of thing?
Yeah, I know for me, it is challenging when you're a young entrepreneur to just say like, "Oh, go join an entrepreneurial group." That sounds so, as an adult, that's like the advice that's always given. But when you're a young entrepreneur, it's like, I'm not gonna go join the
The
county commission, chamber of commerce.
commerce,
Yeah, like
yes, yeah.
you're not gonna do that. And I think that young entrepreneurs now have a huge advantage because it's so highly promoted in social media.
Hmm.
And so for one, find people who inspire you. Find people who maybe not, they don't have to be in the same career and industry that you're in. And that's one of the best advice that I received as a young entrepreneur is I was so hyper focused on finding a beauty industry leader who did the exact same thing that I wanted to get to. And it was like, well, it's hard to find that person, but who has the passion, who has the drive, who has the eagerness, and who has the support that you can just feel encouraged from that alone. And
Hmm.
so I encourage young entrepreneurs to, connect with people, use their social media in productively in that format, because they do have easier access to some
Hmm.
things that when I was younger I didn't have access to.
Absolutely.
There's so many young, YouTubers
We were
when
going to the
I
library back in the
yes,
day. So I was like,
yeah.
go
Well,
get a book on entrepreneurship.
yes.
Now it's not even
Well,
like
and
that.
I
Yeah.
remember when I was in middle school and high school, we had like events, kind of I want to say school drives where it was kind of like, oh, start this up. And it was just like little
Uh,
spurts of like, oh, if I can go like talk door to door and sell cookies or sell
uh-huh.
something in a pamphlet. And I think about that. I'm like, oh wow, that did get me comfortable talking with people because I was like, I want to raise the most money for the school, But now I feel like in this generation, they're like, that's dangerous, like don't.
Right.
So it's some of the experiences I had, I'm like, "Oh, wow, that quickly." That was just a few years ago, I feel like. But, things evolve, things shift. But I encourage young entrepreneurs to, you know, s use their social media, definitely in a productive format. See those people who inspire you and share with their friends. They have a benefit of I'm telling you, this young generation is spending more money than our generation, and
Absolutely.
they are definitely making their economic, mark and stamp, however you wanna put it.
Yes.
I was in Sephora the other day, and this girl was like, "I need to buy this, I need to buy this," and I was like, "Oh, what do you need? You have, like, perfect skin. Why are we getting all of this stuff?" But it is, like, if you're interested, just share it with your peers,
Mhm.
search up people who inspire you,
I
and
love that.
yeah.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for that. So, when you think about your
Mhm.
legacy, like what impact do you hope to leave on the industry or through the cosmetology board in Kansas? Like you have a long ways, girl. We're going to be
Yeah,
watching you for
I
a long,
do.
long time.
Yeah,
So, it's interesting to talk to you about legacy because I feel like you
yeah.
just got
I
started. But I
know.
think, it's nice to think about,
It
right? Like,
is.
what impact are you really looking to make?
One impact is streamlining the process of getting your education. There are so many, once again, young professionals who see their future in the beauty industry, and they just don't know how they can grow in the beauty
Mhm.
industry. And I, speaking from personal experience, I remember entering the beauty industry and saying, yes, I want to work behind the chair. I want to work with, my clients and my guests and learn all I can learn. But I also want to one day own a salon. And after I own a salon, I want to like work for a company. And after I work for a company, I want to like do something else. And I didn't know what all those different things were, but I wanted to see myself elevating and growing.
Mhm.
And a lot of people around me were getting stuck behind the chair and they wanted to grow too, but they're in our industry, there's not really an avenue of like, if you work for an accounting company, it's like you start as this and then you move up to this. In our industry, where
Exactly.
most of us are entrepreneurs, even if you work for, a salon, commission salon, and your employee, you are really still in building your own business in this space yourself. And so I
Absolutely.
really want to have more people set that example of how they can grow and show up in spaces with intention and just seeing a future in the industry and not choosing to shift in the industry because of burnout. It's actually
Mm.
because they wanted to be there and they wanted to shift there. I once again never thought that I would be saying that I'm the executive director of the Kansas Cosmetology Board, but I reflect on the different aspects of how I've worked in the industry, and it's like, wow, the person that I was looking for and wanting to see, this is the person that I wanted to see, somebody who in each aspect continued to grow and continue to inspire and impact others. So I want to make that process easier. I don't want to continue being in these spaces and just being like, oh, Brianna was the youngest person.
Right.
That should become normal at some point,
Well, can you go in the Guinness Book of World Records? I mean,
I
I'm like, we
look,
better check on that,
I want to check it
Brianna. Yeah, you
because
are. I'm sure you
it's
are. I
I
am sure you are.
I'm
You
pretty
have to
sure.
be. I'm pretty
I'm
sure you are.
very much
Can we get that
sure.
printed in the Guinness Book of World
I
Records?
will check on it. I actually will check
Maybe
on
I
that.
should
Yes.
check on it for you.
But it is it is
Oh,
it is crazy in a good way.
yes.
In a lot of aspects of my life, I've shown up in spaces and I've been eager to be there, but I've been, wow, you're young. And then you
Of
move on to something
course.
else and it's like, yeah, you're young, and I had to like encourage myself and realize that like age does not stop you. It does from, accomplishing things. There's still a lot to learn. There's still a lot to evolve and grow in your life. But I do encourage young entrepreneurs to not let age stop
I
them.
love that. That's such a
Um, It's
powerful mindset thought,
yeah.
because definitely, I mean, obviously when you showed up on the scene, we knew how young you were,
I know, and
but everything that you were doing
I'm
was
like
like light years
yeah.
ahead
Well,
of
and for
anything that we
a
had.
long time, it was something that I was like, it's not that I wanted to hide it. Everybody knows I'm young,
Yes.
but it was like I didn't want to ever say it because I thought like my credibility would be taken.
Diminished, right?
Uh-huh. And
Yeah.
so
Definitely not
now that
around
I'm,
here. Yeah.
older, one, and I appreciate that because every
Yes.
space I've showed up, you all have been very encouraging and you've been
Yes.
like, yeah, you go do it. Go do it. And so any like inkling of like, am I supposed to be here? It was just like,
Yes,
yes,
you
yes,
are.
you are. We
Yeah.
chose you. And I feel I know I was meant to be here. I know I feel the encouragement, I feel the support. And it's something I'm very, very grateful to, you and Greg for those opportunities because it definitely helped me evolve and develop and grow. And I'm just thankful for it because I'm like, how did I end up here? This is amazing.
Well,
So
you're so
yeah,
welcome, and we appreciate
thank
you.
you.
And I've learned so much from you, Brianna. So
Thank
you've
you.
really encouraged me in ways beyond that you'll probably ever never know. So, where can people find you?
Okay,
Yeah,
so I founded Curlology Curl Academy 8 years ago, and they can find our education academy and curriculum there. A lot of our curriculum we use Innersense products, and so it's a great resource just to understand the science behind curls, how you style, cut, color, and you can find me online at curlology.com and also on Instagram at the study of curls.
nice. And
Mhm.
then what about, oh, and Instagram on the
Yes,
study of
Instagram. Yes, and if you
curls?
want to
Okay.
look up my personal page, Breanna Bell underscore.
There you
Yep.
go. I
There
love
we go.
that
Yep.
too. Okay. So thank you so much for being here,
Thank
Brianna.
you.
This has
Thank you
been
for
such a
having me.
fun conversation. Thank you, friends, for joining us today. What a powerful conversation with Breanna Bell. Her passion, clarity, and purpose are a true force in our industry. I'm so proud to say that she's part of the Innersense community. Whether it's elevating education, advocating for inclusivity, or leading statewide change, Brianna is proof of what's possible when we align our purpose with our profession. If you feel inspired by this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who's ready to make a difference in the beauty industry and beyond. Until next time, friends, trust your inner knowing, lead with love, and keep creating beauty from the inside out. Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode, dear friends. I would be thrilled to hear which part resonated with you the most. Your reflections on today's topic and how it sparked action in your life mean a lot to me. Feel free to share your thoughts at podcasts@innersensebeauty.com or leave a review. I look forward to you coming back next week to explore another exciting topic together. If you'd like to dive deeper, be sure to check out the show notes for some valuable links. Until we meet again, take good care of yourself. Know that you are surrounded by love and always trust your inner sense. Wishing you all the best, friends.